What is a psychedelic? And what is a psychedelic experience? Psyche means the mind. De lune was to expose. Exposing the mind, that is what a psychedelic is. It is mind revealing. When one has a psychedelic experience, they're having an expanded experience of their mind. Can you have a psychedelic experience without taking a substance? Absolutely. We know that for, again, millennia, people have been able to get into expanded states of consciousness through doing breath work, through chanting, through ecstatic dance and whirling, certain forms of prayer, and also just having a deep existential crisis can lead some people to leave and go into an expanded state of consciousness. And that's exactly what happened in my case. In the first ayahuasca experience I had in 2017, I also connected with my mom's spirit. I was really struggling back then with seeing my mom lose her cognitive function, her spunk, her brilliant mind. It was in that ceremony in 2017 that I just wept. Like, I cried like gut-wrenching tears and really got to grieve the loss of my mom's mind. I connected with her soul then and just showered her with love and appreciation for all that she transmitted to me. I asked for forgiveness for all the crap I did in my teenage years and, even in my adult years where I held resentment against her. That ceremony was really pivotal for me in accepting my mom and my relationship. After she passed, I sat in ceremony with magic mushrooms. After she passed, I sat in ceremony with magic mushrooms. I was shown a scene of me as a tiny baby just after I was born. And I could see a lot of chaos and fear and confusion. And now I know that my parents had tension because 3 years after I was born, they divorced for the second time. In this vision, in this mushroom ceremony, I could see this sort of dark energy that my mother had been carrying from her own wounds in childhood. Her mother died when my mom was just 10 years old or 11 years old. And my mother was rejected by her father. And she carried these traumatic wounds. She didn't have psychedelics. She didn't even have psychotherapy. She just kind of soldiered on. And as I was in this ceremony, I saw this transmission of some of that darkness to me as a baby. I saw how I had grown up and felt this sense that it was all my fault. And I have never had any cognitive awareness of feeling that things are my fault. In this mushroom ceremony and seeing that, I could see how this tiny baby who grew up feeling that somehow everything was all my fault. I was able to weep and grieve for all that tiny baby Dre took on, and most importantly, to give it back to my mother so that she could heal it and release it. It was such a deep ceremony because this was after she had passed away, and I could send her love and compassion and forgiveness because she was an adult child of a dysfunctional family and never got healing. And I could see her leave and go into the light. And I felt so much lighter and so much freer. Psychedelics have helped me reclaim my personal power. So one of the ways that powerlessness showed up in my life is I had a compulsive need to prove myself. I was always trying to back up anything I said or did with facts and figures and statistics and arguments for my position. And what that led to, it led to perfectionism. It led to me always checking and double checking and quadruple checking my facts and anything I did. And it created so much tension inside of me and misery. And once I could see from this psychedelic experience that I had just dialed up on that spectrum of labeling and gone into this perfectionistic, and that prompted these behaviors, it was then that I could have a lot more compassion for myself and for those parts. Internal family systems can really help us in psychedelic experiences, because we start to recognize these parts of ourselves. And even someone who was sitting in ceremony, a magic mushroom ceremony, told me that he saw a vision of himself as a little kid. And this was a guy who had never been in psychotherapy and had never heard of inner child work. And he saw this vision of himself as a little boy and just all alone. And he could really connect with how some of his adult behaviors had been started by that childhood experience. And so for me, learning to integrate and recognize that these are just parts of the psyche. Yes, we are pure essence and soul, and when we come into a human body, we inherit certain hardware and a tendency towards building up certain software that is actually malware. Some of you may have seen the song that I wrote shortly after coming back from 4 ayahuasca ceremonies at Rhythmia in Costa Rica. I came back with so much of this sense of power and sovereignty that I wrote a song called I'm Free. I'm free, give zero fucks what you think about me. I'm free, celebrating my sovereignty. I looked it up because I was like, why is the word sovereign coming in so strongly? Sovereignty means that we are free from external control. When you are the sovereign in your life, it's as if you are the king or the queen. You have the ultimate authority. You are self-governing. You have autonomy. You have your own personal power to set limits, set boundaries, to make choices and decisions without being overly concerned with what people are going to think, what they're going to say, how it's going to make you look. And for me, that ayahuasca ceremony in November of last year for my birthday, in ceremony, I ended up purging a lot of the fear that I had. I had very specific fears around success and fears around intimate relationships, and Mother Ayahuasca helped me to purge them. And it was funny because as I came out of like the intensity of like knowing, facing my fear, facing what was in my psyche, things from the past, things from my childhood, I was able to direct so much love and compassion to those parts of me that then I was able to purge it out. And by purge, I mean vomiting. Ayahuasca, for most people, makes you vomit.